Now we're going to talk about grouped bar charts. So, like grouped column charts, we're showing groups, in this case male and female. The difference here is we're going horizontally rather than vertically, so now we're in the realm of bars rather than columns. This type of chart, like grouped column charts, is useful for showing differences between groups, as we've done here, but it's especially useful in situations where we have long labels, as we do here. If we tried to fit these along the bottom of a chart, they would be really squishy, but along the side here, they're just fine. We also tend to use them in situations where we don't have a huge number of categories or a huge number of data points. If there were 100 different educational levels we were looking at, and instead of looking at male, female, we were looking at 12 different age groups, that would clearly just be too much data to look at. But for something like this, it's just fine. Some things to be aware of in using grouped bar charts. As with column charts, not starting at zero can create distortions. So here we have started with zero, but if we didn't, we'd have the same effect as we did before. It would kind of squish up the axis, and in that case, it exaggerates differences. As before, it's good to match the legend to the orientation of the chart. So here I have the legend the same way that I had it in the grouped column charts, but because the orientation of the data itself is different in a group bar chart, this isn't as good as showing it this way, which then mirrors the orientation of the chart. Another thing to remember for this kind of chart and many others is that it's helpful to arrange the categories in a logical order if they have one. And that logical order might vary depending on your purpose. So here we've got things kind of all over the place. We've got no qualification, then level 4, and 1, 2, 3 are down here. So it's not really easy to look and see what the overall trend is, unless what you're trying to look at is what percentage of people have each qualification. So these are arrayed in terms of qualifications that men have. So the greatest number of men have no qualification, then the next most common level of qualification is level 4, and so on down the line. So if that's our purpose, knowing what qualifications men have, this is a logical ordering. But if what we're interested in is something like what proportion of men and women have different levels of qualifications, then it would be good to array it in terms of order of qualification rather than just what the most people had. Even then, we would want to think about whether no qualification is at the top or doctorate degree is at the top. Depending on our purpose, it might be one way or the other. If what we're interested in is the proportion of people who go on to advanced degrees, then we'd probably want to flip this and put the higher level degrees at the top. Whereas if what we wanted to emphasize is the proportion of the population that have very little or no qualifications, then having it with no qualification and working upwards from there would make more sense.